Every year in the NFL, it's a new team. As far as goals go, we have one. Putting a f***ing ring on our finger.
Welcome to the Buccaneers Observer Podcast. This is Ralph Phillips.
I'm Holly Bay.
Today is September 19th, 2020. Kickoff is tomorrow with the Carolina Panthers at 1 p.m. We're going to talk about that game coming up. But first, we got to cover some mess. We got to cover last week's game. Now, unfortunately, the game film did not come out until Thursday. That really threw me behind. I have been spending the past 3 days working on this game film, trying to get it out. Working on the video now, but I did get the game film completely analyzed today around 3 o'clock, I think it was, 4 o'clock. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Some very, very surprising things. Now, normally when we talk about games, we talk about, did we win it? Did we lose it? Did we get beat? Or did the refs screw us? Which one do you think it is this time, Molly?
The amount of griping I've heard from you, I would say the refs.
You would be correct.
Yes.
You win the prize.
Yay!
Bucs Nation, I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying this lightly, and I'm not being hyperbolic on this one. We got screwed badly. This is the worst refereeing game I have ever watched by a large margin. And that's saying something, because if you've watched this podcast, I have ripped into the refs a few times. This is worse than the Tennessee game last year. This is worse than the Redskins game a few years ago. The whole, you like that? Redskins game, where we just got totally screwed by the refs. Now, what am I talking about when I say that? They called plenty of penalties. I mean, we're the league lead in penalties. The Saints are the lead leaguers in penalty yardage. So what am I talking about? I mean, they called plenty of penalties, right? There's something you might notice about the penalties. Not a single holding call. Not one. The refs did not call one single holding penalty. Not one.
On either side?
On either side.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not sure I've ever seen a game that's happened.
I know.
I'm sure it has, but I can't think of one right off the top of my head. Apparently, the Saints figured that out at about the middle of the second quarter, and they just went on a holding spree. We lost this game because the Saints cheated. Flat out, point blank, cheating bastards. They held 19 times that I counted. And I'm not talking about little cheeky holds where you go, was that a hold? Was that not a hold? I don't know. I can't really tell. I'm talking about flat out holding, grabbing jerseys, pulling guys to the ground. 19 times uncalled penalties for holding. That's just for holding. 19. And I'm being generous with that. I'm being 100% generous with that. I'm not calling ticky-tack holdings. I'm not calling holdings where you're like, that's your typical lineman holding stuff, No, these were blatant, outright bad holdings. There was a couple of guys that were masters at it, I guess you would say. 87.
Jared Cook, the tight end.
Jared Cook.
Who racked up a ton of yardage.
Yes. He just held almost every play he was out there blocking. It was a travesty. As Saints fans, I'd be embarrassed for this win. I would be embarrassed for this win. You go back and you look at the game film and you watch these guys. It is. Somebody needs to talk to Goodell or somebody about this officiating, because that was a travesty. There we go.
You're so upset you can't even remember words.
Yeah, I mean, Molly could tell you, I have been pacing. I've been angry. I've been mad. I'll watch the game and, go through a couple of plays and I'll have to get up and walk away, because I'm furious. I'm like, I cannot believe. And a lot of these calls were right in front of the officials. They decided before the game they were not going to call any holding penalties. And I mean, it was like, it didn't matter. A guy could be two hands pulling with a jersey and yanking the guy back and forth right in front of the official, staring right at it. And they're not going to throw a flag. And these penalties happened on almost every single play that you can think of where the Bucs got beat. So we definitely didn't win this game. We didn't lose this game. The refs screwed us in this game. Penalties weren't the only thing. Remember those false starts? Remember Vita Vea going across the line of scrimmage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Drew Brees false started on that.
He's good at that.
Yeah. He false started on that. And you could tell it's something he's practiced. As a receiver was going into motion, he was looking over at the receiver, and then he turned his head back and faced forward. And when he did it, he dropped. His whole body just dropped.
And it's just like a little twitch, basically.
Yeah. I mean, but when you get it pointed out to you and you look at it, you go, how in the world did they not see this? I mean, the quarterback is not allowed to simulate any sudden movement or simulate the snap.
Yeah, I think that I can recall Philip Rivers getting called for that with San Diego with a little head thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
that he did.
Yeah, normally they're pretty intense with the quarterback's not allowed to do a whole lot of movement back there. Mm-hmm. But I'll be darned if he didn't. He turned his head, and as he turned his head, as soon as his head got set straight, he lowered his butt, and it looked like he was preparing for a snap, just like this, just like that. That's what it looked like. And
Vita came across.
Not only Vita, Golston came across too, and Sue. All three of the guys that were right there over the center jumped. Sue didn't go across the line; he caught himself, but the other two went across the line. They called it on Vita. So there was that one. Then there was the one where Sue jumped across and he was encroachment or whatever it is. Breeze was in the shotgun and he had his hands out like this and he went like that. You're not allowed to do that. He put his arms out like that, simulating a snap. And Sue jumped
for people
across.
Listening, Ralph is moving his hands.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sitting there watching myself on screen, like, trying to get my hands in position.
Guys?
Right. So that happened. It happened 3 times where there was 3 quarterback false starts that were not called. And then there was a pass interference during the game that wasn't called as well. I can't remember when it was. I've got it written down. So anyhow, and then one hands to the face too. There was a hand to the face, blatant hands to the face. I mean, pushed the guy back by his helmet. I can't remember who it was. Nacho, I think, got his head pushed back. I mean, you can see him. He's like this almost the whole play, and they didn't call it. So that's 24 uncalled penalties against the Saints. 24. Could you imagine if they would have called just half of them? There would have been 12 penalties. I mean, it was ridiculous. I really went into this game watching the game film thinking that, I was going to see some really good back and forth between the teams. Now, there was a couple of plays I saw during the game live where I was like, that didn't look right. The Kamara, when he ran in untouched, he ran to the left end untouched for the first touchdown they got. That was that drive is when they decided that they were like, hey, these refs aren't calling holding, so let's just hold. I mean, they held that whole drive. But on that play in particular, and I even called Molly in to show her this one, we had, I want to say it was Vita was held, and then as Kamara was going around, he reaches out and grabs Kamara. It was real brief, but he grabs Kamara and kind of throws him off balance. So that was holding too, but that was on Vita. And then Kamara regains his balance. He goes out, catches the pass. He's going. A lineman blocks one of our guys in the back, but it was within the 5 yards of scrimmage. So You know, they're so iffy with those.
No, I think they were closer to the end zone.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean,
no, it was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but it was way
so
over
it
on the
been
sideline.
called.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, the refs sometimes call it, sometimes they don't. But I mean, it was a blatant block in the back.
Yeah.
But then, and I want to say it was 23 was coming over to tackle Alvin Kamara.
Or 33.
I can't remember. And one of the linemen just reaches out, grabs him by the front of the jersey, and just yanks him straight down. I mean, you could see it.
Like tackled him basically.
Yeah, just pulled him straight down. And then as Kamara's running towards the end zone, one of the cornerbacks, I want to say it was Jamal Dean, starts to run over to go and try and tackle him, and the wide receiver that was covering him, I want to say it was number 10, just grabs him by the jersey and holds him. And you can see, it's point blank, and there's a ref standing right there. The jersey is pulled completely out. It's just so blatant. And the guy's just holding it, and he couldn't get over to make the tackle. And that's why Kamara went in untouched. The same thing happened with the Kamara's later touchdown when he ran to the right. It was holding. Kamara went right in. I don't know if the players decided on this, but I'm going to say, based on some of the stuff that I saw, that it was coached. Now, you've heard a lot about why we didn't have a pass rush in this game, that our pass rush needs to get better. And I'm going to try to touch on all the things that people groused about with the Buccaneers after the game. But our pass rush was kind of non-existent, especially Barrett, right? Barrett was one of the people that was held the most. They were holding him all the time. But this one play in particular where it made me go, wow, they are coaching these guys to do this. I want to say, it was Taysom Hill is blocking Shaq Barrett. Now that right there, you're like, no, Taysom Hill cannot
Why the
block
hell
Shaq
would you
Barrett.
even do that as a coach? Why would you make that call?
Well, if you have him hold, he can do it. So he does. He immediately comes off the line, grabs hold of Barrett, and twists him around. And then, I want to say it was number 10 again, wide receiver. He was in motion. He comes around and he cuts behind Barrett. And as he cuts, he grabs hold of the back of Barrett's jersey and pulls him. So you've got two guys holding Shaquille Barrett as the play ends up running that away. And that to me showed, hey, they coached. That was planned. Mm-hmm. That was planned. And it had to have been coached. I mean, there's no way these guys are sitting on the sidelines going, okay, let's develop this plan so we can hold Shaq Barrett. No, that was coached. And I was just furious this whole game. Almost every play I was seeing this. And there was a lot of plays I saw where it looked like holding, but I didn't. I was like, okay, I'm not going to mark that one down or save it as video because you can't see it that well. These 19 are only ones where you can look at it and you go, that's definitely holding. No doubt about it. That's definitely holding. So, Saints fans, I'd be embarrassed by this win. Buccaneer fans, be pissed off at the media, at the Buccaneers media. I'm done with these people. I'm completely done with them. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. They're still talking about that mess. You know, whether that's going to be a rift between the two, you know, it's like soap opera drama. You know, if these media guys paid attention to the games or paid attention to the game film, they would be just as livid as I will. And they would be asking the coach, what can we do about this? What are you going to do? That was blatant disregard for the game, the rules of the game. And they're not. I looked at every single media article, every single tweet. Not a single person mentioned holding. Not a single one. None of them. And to me, that's the biggest story of this game. By far. By far. Now, if you don't believe me, I'm going to have a video out. I might not have it out. I'm calling it a day today. I've been working on this stuff for 3 days straight. So it'll probably be out Monday, but I'm going to show some of the holding. I ain't going to show all of it because it would be a long video. It would be almost as long as the damn game. But I'm going to show you, and you'll see. You'll see. This was just bad. So, anyhow.
Are you going to talk about Ryan Smith? The holding
Oh,
on
yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
Smith?
They held Ryan Smith. You know, Ryan Smith, I talk about him. He is He is our special teams guru. Did you notice that they got great field advantage?
Oh yeah, I have that actually in my notes on him.
Yeah, great field advantage. You know why? Because they held Ryan Smith every single time. Every time. And
so we averaged on the 18.1 yard line for special teams, and New Orleans averaged on the 33.8 yard line.
33.8 and
18.
Now, not to knock their returner, Deontay Harris. He's really, really good. I mean, the guy's like a joystick. There was a couple plays. I was just like, I even called Molly and one time. I was like, you have got to see this guy move. He's just incredible. I mean, he was running a full speed, stopped on a dime, and cut at a 45-degree angle running at full speed and evaded 5 tacklers. I was just like, holy crap. But a lot of that is because they held Ryan Smith and he couldn't get there to tackle the guy.
Yeah, there was one play where they had 2 guys on Ryan Smith, and they're all moving, the 3 of them, in unison because both Saints guys
are holding.
Have Ryan Smith by the jersey, and they're all moving in just one unit.
Yeah, and they were like grouped together, bunched up. They had him like pulled to them, and they were just moving him around. And Ryan Smith is one of the few guys. Ryan Smith and Will Golston are the 2 guys that I could think of right at the top of my head that kind of called out the holding. You know, they turned around to the guys. Ryan Smith turned around and he wagged his finger at the guys. You know, he's like, hey, enough of that. And Golston got pissed and started really hitting guys. And there was one play he got held and broke free. No, he got held the play before. On this play, he broke free of his tackle, and I want to say it was Ndamukong Suh and 71. One of their offensive linemen were locked up, and the lineman was holding Suh, and Golston runs all the way down the line at full speed and slams into him. Yes, and then this one time, this guy's holding Golston, and Golston picks him up and turns him around and slams him on the ground and gets up in his face. You could tell he was not saying good job, buddy. Yeah.
You love to see it.
But Shaq Barrett was getting held a lot, and he just seemed very, very despondent. Almost the whole game, he just seemed very, just kind of like, oh, gosh. Another reason for that, I'm going to move on from the holding here. Another reason for that is Shaq Barrett was not playing his normal role this game. This was a very, very strange game. It was very fascinating. There was a lot of stuff to look at. And it was just almost every play. It was just like, whoa, or what the, And Shaq Barrett, and I had said this in our last podcast. I said, it seemed like Shaq Barrett went back into coverage a lot. I said, I saw a handful of times, 5-6 times, which is unusual. Usually they'll do it 1, 2, 3 times a game. You know how many times he did it this time?
Let me guess, 7.
13.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Why?
He was on the field for 60 plays. He dropped back into coverage 13 times. That's 22%. 22%. So he was not rushing a lot.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Well, I have my theories. One is Drew Brees is just so hard to get to, and even if you do get to him, he throws the ball, he'll throw it in the dirt, whatever. So they figured the best thing to do was confuse the coverage, and then have JPP and Shaq Barrett go out into coverage. And sometimes they would have Levante David and Devin White come in and rush in their place up through the middle. And sometimes they would just let 3 guys rush and drop the 2 back. Sometimes they would just drop Barrett back. Sometimes they'd just drop JPP back. JPP dropped back 8 times. And Shaquille Barrett dropped back 13 times. Now, one of the things they did was they had Shaquille Barrett would cover Kamara. When Kamara would go out for the swing passes or whatever, Shaquille Barrett would run over to him and bump him off his route.
Huh.
And then he would rush back to the quarterback. So it was very strange. It was very unusual. Our defense did a lot of unusual stuff.
Do you think it was effective, him doing that?
It wasn't effective as far as the pass rush is concerned, but when you look at the numbers, man, we did a really good job holding them.
Yeah, I was looking at where we ranked for the game preview, as far our offense, I don't even want to talk about, but the defense, I think the pass defense was like 6th and the rush defense was like 7th. I might have inverted them, but they're both top 10. So.
Yeah, we didn't blitz hardly at all. I can only recall one blitz. I didn't keep track of the blitzes, but I can only recall one where we rushed 6. And that's when we got that sack.
And I mean, with Drew Brees, it's so pointless because he's so fast.
That one worked perfectly. JPP came up the middle untouched and slammed Drew Brees.
Is that where he got a sack?
Yes.
Okay.
It was beautiful. He decleated Drew Brees, took him off his feet and slammed him into the ground.
Well, that's because he's like 50 pounds. Tiny little guy.
Yeah. And then there was, Tom Brady got called for the intentional grounding. And it was intentional grounding. And we've talked about this on the podcast all the time, how Drew Brees he should get called intentional grounding 2 or 3 times a game, but he never does.
Mm-hmm.
They just always give him the benefit of the doubt. And he threw the ball one time right in the dirt, and they didn't call intentional grounding. They said because there was a receiver in the area. Now, I hate that, and that's,
it's so subjective.
So subjective. There's no definition. There's no limit. Is it 5 yards around the receiver or whatever? I calculated the ball was 24 feet away from the receiver.
What the fuck?
24 feet. It hit the ground 24 feet away from the receiver. And they said that was in the area. I was just like, wow. And that was the one where Levante David had him in his grasp when Drew Brees was going down and just chunked it.
And
right
that's the problem. It's when a sack is imminent. Like,
right.
How is that not imminent?
Right. That's how it should be. That's
right.
If you're getting sacked and you throw the ball, it should be intentional grounding. Unless it's, where it's obvious it's for, but Drew Brees does that. Everybody knows it. It's like he's not trying to throw it to the receiver. He's just trying to throw it near a receiver in the dirt. And that's the very definition of intentional grounding.
That's the intention of the rule.
Right. Cheating bastards. All right. Let's move on a little bit, talk about some more things. One of the big things that I've heard, and we talked about it too, was Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith had a horrible game, is what everybody says. We need to.
Even BA called him out.
Yes. Well, it's very strange because watching the game film, it wasn't that horrible. He had 4 bad plays.
Okay, let me ask you, is that just because the bar is low for Donovan?
Yeah, well, granted, it kind of looked like Donovan of old.
Okay.
But, for the most of the game, he played great. I wouldn't say great, but he played well. He did his job. But he had 4 plays that were bad. 3, he got beat. And he got beat by 3 different guys. He got beat by 94, 91, and 96. And then he had a false start. Those were his 4 bad plays. So he got beat 3 times. That's it. Well, one of them led to a strip sack. But Tom Brady was able to recover that one. Donovan Smith did not play as bad as you would think, when you hear everybody talking about it. I always say with, especially left tackles, 0 to 1 mistakes a game is elite. 2 to 3 is average. 4 and more, that's, not that good. Donovan Smith got beat 3 times. Now, the first time he got beat wasn't his fault. And I had talked about this in the instant reaction right after the game. Number 10, Scotty Miller was going into motion, and Brady snaps the ball, and Scotty Miller runs right into the back of Donovan Smith, knocking him off his guy. That was not Donovan Smith's fault. So, Brady ended up getting sacked on that play by Donovan Smith's guy, but it wasn't Donovan Smith's fault. He got knocked off his guy by Scotty Miller. It was a weird play. He just ran right into the back of him. Then Donovan Smith started playing bad for a series after he went for a block and missed. He was trying to chip block somebody to the right, and he missed the guy and did his arms out like Superman.
Oh my God.
And belly flopped right on the ground. And it looked painful. And he actually bounced. He was like, boom,
God.
boom, off the ground on his stomach. And he rolled over like he was in pain. And then the plays right after that, he did not play so well. So I
His
think
pride was hurt a little bit after that.
I think he had got the wind knocked out of him by his own mass. So Donovan Smith was not the problem with this game at all, really, at all. Tom Brady played fantastic. Some of those throws were incredible. Incredible throws.
Yeah, when we watched the game, the condensed version, a second time, it did not look as bad as it did.
Yeah.
On the initial watch. I mean, there was like a series where just everything started going wrong. It was like the pick six and the blocked punt and, all this stuff like right in a row. And it was just like, just a cascade of unfortunate events.
Well, we were within a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And then we had they scored a touchdown. Wait a minute, how'd it go? I can't remember. They scored a touchdown, and then they kicked the ball, and then we had the muff punt.
Yeah.
The touchdown was scored because, who was it? Somebody missed the tackle and then was called for a face mask. And I looked at it, and I looked at this thing 100 different times, and I did not see face mask. He grabbed the guy like right here, and the guy's head turned. It looked like a face mask, but you do not see that guy's hands on his face mask. So, again, us getting screwed by the refs. And what happened is that was a 15-yard penalty. It was assessed on the kickoff. So they were upset.
Right.
So what they did is they did one of those mortar kickoffs. So they just kicked it really high, and it came down. And Mike Edwards ran over, thought he was going to catch the ball. And then, that was a mess there.
Our special teams was just disastrous, I felt like.
Yeah. So that gave them a 21-point lead at that point, I think it was. But up until the fourth quarter, right in the fourth quarter, we were in this game. And then boom, boom, it was just like back-to-back screw-ups. Now, when I say the refs cost us the game, it definitely cost us the game. No doubt about that. Right behind that, though, would be us losing the game. We had a lot of screw-ups. We had my boy Whitehead with the blown coverage on Hill to start the game. I think it was one of their first plays. It was their first play. Then you had the Brady pick six. That was completely Brady's fault.
Well, didn't they say that was Mike Evans?
Yeah, that was a different one. That was an interception.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't. But it was a bunch of stuff like that where we screwed up. It wasn't the Saints beating us. It was we threw up. On that pick six also, Brady actually threw the ball behind the guy. It was a bad pass by Brady. And it was really weird because it was a design screen. I don't know why Brady decided to throw it over there. The Saints were playing off coverage, so I guess he figured he would have enough time to get the ball over there before they closed in on, I think it was Justin Watson. But the play was a design screen to the left. The blockers, let their guys go through, and the linemen ran over to the left, and I think it was LaShawn McCoy was back there, and he went out for a pass, and they're all standing. There's four guys standing over there on the left with nobody over there watching this pick six happen. They're like, what the heck just happened? You were supposed to throw it over here. For some reason, Brady decided to throw it over there, and he decided immediately. He snapped the ball, just turned around and threw it, and it was, I think, the only inaccurate pass Brady threw during the day. He should have thrown it more in front of Justin Watson, and it was behind Justin Watson to where he had to spin around to try and catch it. And then that's when you see Janoris Jenkins jump up in the air and catch it and take it in. So, we had quite a bit of that. We had some missed tackles. Jamal Dean did not play well in coverage on a couple plays. He gave up a big one to Cook that just blew my mind. I don't know what he was doing. He was playing off coverage with Cook, and he let Cook run past him, and he was turning around. Jamal Dean was turned around looking at Brady the whole time. And it looked to me, and this is how Jamal Dean plays, he was going to wait until the ball almost got there and then just jump up and catch it, bat it down or whatever. He tracked the ball all the way in the air, and then when it got to the point where he could have jumped up and batted it down, he just watched it fall right into Cook's hands. I was like, what is he doing? Why didn't you try to jump up? And he was watching the ball the whole time. He was turned around looking at it, tracking the ball in the air, and just, I don't know what he was saying. And then he had another play later on in the game where they got a first down they shouldn't have because he kind of screwed up his coverage. He was off the guy too far. Then you had the Mike Edwards muff pump. You had the Kappa screwed up with the blocked field goal. That side, Kappa and Wirfs are on the left side for the extra points, and they struggled every time. They got to work on that. They got to work on that. And Cameron Brate was over there too. All three of them. That's going to be a problem if they don't. And it wasn't that they necessarily got beat or anything. They were just not in sync, and guys were able to get through and stuff. Then you had the bad plays by Donovan Smith. Mike Evans running the wrong route, and then he dropped the ball right in his hands. There was a play, he was going across the middle. Brady threw a perfect pass. It actually hit him in the face.
Oh, my God.
It hit him in the face. It went through his hands, hit him in the face, bounced up in there. And then the nail in the coffin play was the blown coverage on Taysom Hill. I'm sorry, this blown coverage on Kamara. I think it was in the fourth quarter. We were down by 10, I want to say. And it was almost like a flea flicker. Drew Brees threw it to Taysom Hill or tossed it to Taysom Hill. And then Taysom Hill threw it to Kamara, who was wide open. That was a screw up on our part, but it was kind of a shocking play. Nobody expected it. We weren't prepared for it. And I'm not sure that it was Whitehead who had that responsibility and screwed it up. But nobody would have thought of that play. I mean, it was 3rd and 1, I think. It was a very strange call at the time, and it caught us off guard. So that one there, you could say they beat us on that play. But other than that, no, it was us screwing up, and it was the refs screwing up. But by far, it was the refs. By far, it was the refs. And I think our guys got very despondent because you saw it the first quarter. We were killing it. I mean, we marched down the field and scored, and our defense held them, and then it was when they started holding, when they realized that the refs were not going to call any holding whatsoever, no matter what, they just started holding like it was a free-for-all. And we should have done the same thing. I'm not going to lie. I think Arian should have called everybody over there and said, hold every play, everybody. Until they start calling holding, we need to do this too. And we didn't. So, and then there was the Scotty Miller running into the back of Donovan Smith. So it was a bunch of stuff like that. But no, the Saints did not beat us. The Saints did not beat us. Anybody that wants to say the Saints went out there and beat us, they're insane. Absolutely insane. No. If you take away the refs, chances are pretty good we would have beat them. And even if we would have lost. Or if
the refs had done their job.
If the refs would have done their job, chances are pretty good we would have beat them. And even if they would have won and the refs would have called the game correctly, it would have been us beating ourselves. It wouldn't have been the Saints beating us. So the Saints fans, y'all didn't win this game. You got the help from the Zebras. All right.
Can we talk about stuff that the team did well?
Okay.
Do you have anything like that? Some good things you saw?
Yeah, Tom Brady was great. You know what was really great about him was his pocket presence was spectacular. I mean, you saw play. We've been watching Jameis Winston for 5 years, and you would see guys coming in. The pocket looked like it's getting ready to collapse, and watching Jameis Winston so long, you're thinking, oh no, it's time to scramble. Not Brady. He would step up just as calm and cool and chunk it, or he would step up, look around, and run. Which he ran more this game than I think I've ever seen him ran. He had the 2 quarterback sneaks, got his first down, got his touchdown, and then he had a couple plays where he ran for like 4 or 5 yards. And both of the quarterback sneaks were audibles at the line.
Did the offense look any different? Like
no.
Game plan wise or play wise?
No.
Like it was just we pop Brady in there?
Just pop Brady in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they were talking like it would kind of be a hybrid.
I was expecting it too, but I didn't see hardly any plays that I went, oh, that's not typical Arians or Leftwich call, I didn't see anything they threw in it. The drag routes, the crossing routes, the slants. I wanted to see more of that. I think I saw 3, and it just, that's Brady's bread and butter. They got to start implementing those. Although, we played well offensively, moving the ball down the field. I'm not upset about that. That's going to keep going on. And the more these guys get in sync, and if Mike Evans can run the right routes and not have the football bounce off his face mask. Some of those passes were so beautiful by Brady. The one, I want to say it was in the first quarter. It was to Chris Godwin, and it was towards the sideline. He was being covered by DJ Swearingen. That was one of the most beautiful passes I've ever seen. It was 30 yards downfield. It was at a bad angle. It had to have been thrown perfect, and it was thrown perfect. And it was exactly right in Godwin's hands. It was a beautiful, beautiful pass. And all the bombs were spot on. And, we got a lot of pass interference penalties called on them because the balls were just so perfect. They had to. It was either, get pass interference or let the receiver catch the ball because, they were not overthrown. They were not underthrown. They were not thrown badly. Every single one was perfect. Let me see. 62 for the Saints. Nick Easton. He filled in for the rookie who got hurt. Remember? Mm-hmm. He played pretty well, although he did a lot of holding. But he was pretty chippy.
Was he the center?
No, they're right guard.
Right guard.
Yeah, he's from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, he was like one of their big acquisitions a couple years ago.
Yeah, he played pretty good. But it's hard to tell if their line played good because of all the dang holding.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
Well, their offensive line has always been top 10. Yeah. So.
But we always give them a run for their money, or we did last year anyhow. Winfield is really, really good. That guy.
Oh, cool.
He looks like a veteran out there.
I'm so excited.
He had a couple of mistakes, but nothing. But no, this guy he's top tier. He's really good.
Yeah, they loved him coming into this, and he won a starting job as a rookie. Yeah,
deservedly so. The guy does not play like a rookie. He plays like a 6-year vet back there.
Wow.
Like I said, he made a couple
incredible.
mistakes. But yeah, it really is. I'm very, very impressed with him. And Wirfs is pretty good. I wouldn't say he blew me away. He got beat one time. That's it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is pretty
considering what Donovan Smith did.
Right, yeah. Well, left tackle, right tackle.
Well, I know, but the Salty Dogs had Tristan Wirfs on there, and they were doing a Zoom call. Of course, it's a podcast, so you can't see the Zoom call, but they were asking him what the coolest thing in his house or his apartment was, and he pulls up this tea thing that he got. Like, apparently he's into teas. The Earl Grey and chai tea.
You were telling me that the other day.
Which the guy, Jeff, was like, oh, what kind do you like? Too bad you couldn't have gone to London with us last year.
Does he sit there with his little pinky out? Can you imagine having 300-some pound
And it's so funny with these guys when they have hobbies like this. Like Ryan Jensen, he's got the meat hobby, which that's cool. Like, you get that because you're an offensive lineman. Like, you eat a lot. But it's just not something you would expect from a football player. I'm into tea.
Yes. But Wirfs did very well. I was impressed. But here's a caveat. He had a lot of help. Okay. They made sure he had a lot of help.
Well, I like that too.
Yeah.
I think that's smart.
Yeah, which, again, kind of hurts Donovan Smith because they couldn't give Donovan Smith a lot of help.
But Donovan shouldn't need a lot of help.
Right, that's true. But speaking of that, Rob Gronkowski is a legitimate blocker. We finally have a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
O.J. Howard, of course, did his I'll put my body in your way, but other than that.
Yeah, I know everyone loves O.J. I'm not.
I like him, but he's not.
I don't dislike him. I'm just like, for how long he's been with the team, I just feel like he should be a little further developed than he is.
Yes. Brady only missed seeing one open wide receiver, and that was Gronk, who was wide open down the field, which is a huge difference between Jameis Winston. He normally, I think it was 4 open wide receivers a game that he would miss.
Yeah.
Brady obviously hasn't been listening to our podcast. He needs to start doing that because there was one play where Mike Evans realized he was going to be wide open, and guess what he did?
Threw his hand up.
Threw his hand up in the air and blew right past the safety. And he was wide open for a touchdown.
Well, I do feel like Mike should go, hey, Tom,
Yeah.
you should know when I throw my hand up, just chunk it.
He should. I have never, ever, ever seen Mike Evans put his arm up where he was not open after that. He knows when he's going to get open, so he does. But yeah, he was blazing down the field, and he saw the safety just was not going to be able to keep up with him. So he threw his arm up and just shot right past him.
I felt like Mike was so chippy this game. Like aggressive.
There was a lot
and,
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of. Jensen body slammed a couple guys. That's going to be in the
I
things
love
I
him so
noticed
much.
video I'm putting out. I've got a couple of videos I'm going to put out. One is going to be on the penalties, and then the other one's going to be the usual things I found interesting. And it's going to be stuff like Ryan Jensen body slamming people. Yeah, he got a couple good pancakes in.
Oh, what'd you think about that Cam Jordan punch in the pile?
Yeah, it should have been a penalty, I think. There was absolutely no sense. The whistle had already blown. He just, and it was a hard punch. It looked like if that would have connected with anybody, and it might have, it would have caused some damage.
Somebody showed the end zone angle, and it looked more like he might have been punching the ball, but if the play was dead, it's irrelevant.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the refs were already running to the pile because they'd blown the whistle.
Yeah.
And, he threw a haymaker. He just came back and just punched right in the pile. And I thought Jensen was going to rip his head off. What are you doing punching him?
I love Jensen.
Yeah. But, he was definitely trying for the ball. But that was way uncalled for. But, of course, the refs didn't call flag.
Right.
So, hold on one second. Yeah, I want to touch on Donovan Smith a little bit more. I'm saying that Donovan Smith wasn't as bad as everybody makes him out to be, but he wasn't good. He wasn't even average. He was below average. Now, the ones I say he had 3 bad plays where he got beat. Those were just 3 bad plays he got beat that impacted the game. Impacted the play. He got beat like 3 other times that didn't have anything to do with the game or with the play. So he was not playing very well. He actually even got tossed aside by a linebacker one time.
Woo.
Yeah. I wasn't really happy with Donovan Smith. And, I agree with Aaron's. The guy, he's got to step it up. You can't play like that. But I think Brady can handle it. As long as Donovan Smith can just get in people's way long enough for him to do it. But it was in the, where was it? Oh, yeah. The second quarter, around 5:40 is where Smith does his Superman belly flop. Then right after that, he gets beat by 94. 94 makes a tackle for a loss. Then right after that, Ali Marpet pushes his man into the back of Donovan Smith, causing Donovan Smith to fall over top of him. Then right after that, Scotty Miller comes running across and runs into Donovan Smith, knocking him off his guy. And his guy ended up getting the sack on Tom Brady. So, that
sounds
series,
like a sequence of events.
Yeah. I think that series there really shook Donovan up, and he had a rough time the rest of the game. I say he had a rough time, but, he held his own for the most part. But, he would just – it was the Donovan Smith of old we saw. He just didn't hustle a lot, and he would get beat, but just bad footwork and technique and, just kind of lazy, just kind of, And so he needs to step it up. Definitely needs to step it up. I swear to God, I've got so many notes for this game. I think this is the game – I've taken more notes on this game than I've ever with any game. I got my spreadsheets going back up. I did that this year again. So that helps out a lot. But
I've never seen one that's filled up that much.
Yeah. It's rare if there's a play that I don't have notes on with this game. So back to summing it all up. If the referees screwed us, they should really come out and apologize and probably send every Buccaneer fans gift baskets. It was horrible. The worst refereeing game I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot because I've seen a lot of. And it was Jerome Boger. We had talked about him and his crew. We really thought they would do better, but they had to have said before the game, we're not calling any holding penalties, no matter what. They had to. Because like I said, there would be holding right in front of the guy's jersey being pulled out 3 yards from his body, and they wouldn't call holding. There was no holds called in this game, and there was 19 holds by the Saints that went uncalled, that were blatant holds. So anyhow, like I said, we got screwed by the refs. Second level down was we beat ourselves, and then way, way, way down at the bottom is the Saints beat us. I don't even know. I'm not even going to say that. They say the Saints didn't beat us. Take all the rest of that away, we would have beat the mess out of the Saints. So I'm looking forward to that next matchup. And I guarantee you all these guys that got back on that plane or in the locker room or even during the game, I don't know, but they were like, were you getting held? And it's like, yeah, I was getting held all the time. You know, I know Shaq Barrett is saying it because, I mean, they were just holding him like he was a swing set or something. Anyhow. All right. That's going to wrap it up for my summation on that. I'll have the video out. It's probably not going to be out till Monday, guys, because tomorrow's football day and it's like my Sabbath. I don't work on Sundays. I might work on it a little bit before the game, but I doubt it. So it'll probably be out Monday. Sorry.
And I really hope that they start getting the All-22 out because, I mean, it didn't even come out until like 4 o'clock Thursday morning. Yes. Which last season.
I was up as soon as it was out.
Well, it's like you had your spidey sense tingled.
Yeah.
Well,
I woke up at 4, and then I was laying there, and I got up, checked. It wasn't out yet, and then I checked a half hour later like I'd been doing every half hour since Monday. And it came out about 4:30.
Well, it used to be last season it would be out Tuesdays.
Used to it would come out on Wednesdays at noon.
Yeah.
And then last year they started coming out Tuesdays about 8 o'clock in the morning, which was great. You know, they gave me all day Tuesday to get film work done. And I was able to have videos out by Wednesday.
But now, I hope that's not going to be the norm.
No.
Bucs Twitter was in a tizzy.
Oh, yeah, we all were. Everybody was like, where is the game film? Oh, well, everybody except for the media because they don't watch it. You know, I'm done with them. You know what they do talk about, though? Here's what the media is talking about. Besides the Bruce Arians and Tom Brady drama that they just love. Let's see. They talked about, I got 10 tweets in a row. 10 tweets in a row, quoting the same thing from Bruce Arians at his press conference. Chris Godwin is still going through the concussion protocol. Today was part of that protocol, and they'll do more tomorrow, so he's doubtful. Next tweet by another media personality covering the Bucs. Arians said Chris Godwin is making progress while on concussion protocol and will do more work Friday as they decide on whether he can play Sunday. Next tweet after that was from another Bucs media person. Chris Godwin is still going through the concussion protocol. More will be done tomorrow, but Arians says he's still doubtful for Sunday. Right after that, another Bucs sports media person. Head coach Bruce Arians started his press conference by congratulating Lightning head coach. Oh, they broke it up a little bit. Anyhow, there was 10 tweets in a row all saying exactly the same thing about Chris Godwin is still in the concussion protocol. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Basically, they were quoting what the slackest job on the planet. These people are lazy. I mean, all they do is they go there, they have people tell them something, they turn around and they tell us what those people told them. Or they read stats because they sure aren't looking at game film. And then, okay, so we got that. We've got them quoting press conference people, which we could just watch the press conference and get all that anyhow. You know, press conference is right there on video. We don't need these people to tell us what we can watch.
And they're not even there anymore. It used to be that they would be in the room with them.
They're watching the video with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then besides that, it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what they tweeted all night last night.
It's really
Keep
relevant.
the damn politics out of my football. I'm going to say it again. These people didn't tweet anything about Scalia dying, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. I haven't done a search on it yet, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. And then it was all kinds of, this is a horrible day. We actually had a couple of the media people say some things like they're so depressed and this is the worst day ever and stuff like that. Jenna Lane, of course, had a whole bunch of tweets about, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all that good stuff. Yeah, so that's what they're covering. They're not covering the fact that the referees didn't call any holding in a game where there was 19 uncalled holding penalties. Don't get me started. All right.
Let's move on to the Panthers.
Okay.
Ralph, you got closure? Did you get closure?
I got closure.
All right.
You've got 10 minutes.
Nope. Sorry.
This podcast might go a little long, everybody.
I just want to touch on some news really briefly. Shaq Barrett and his wife announced on Instagram that they are expecting their 4th child.
Yay.
So congratulations to them. Beautiful family. We put Anthony Auclair on injured reserve with his calf injury. He'll be eligible to return in week 5. So when you're on IR this year, there are special rules. You can only miss, you only have to miss 3 games to be considered IR.
Yeah.
So
hold on, but before you go any further, I wanted to put another thing that the media is talking about with the Buccaneers. I guess this is Buccaneers related or whatever, but it's from the Tampa Bay Times. They did an article on, here's the title of it. Why do Derek Jeter and Tom Brady need 16 bathrooms in this house? Honestly, that's what they wrote an article on. We covered that in one of the news podcasts, but that's the level of crap we're dealing with the media. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Like, where's the substance, guys?
Where's the substance? Now, I'm not saying you got to sit and watch game film and analyze the game, and all that good stuff and have teams, because everything has its place. It's like stats. Stats are a tool. Stats aren't everything. You can't read stats and tell who's going to win a game, who's going to lose a game. There's a lot of guys a lot of them at the Tampa Bay Times, who are completely stats guys. And then you got other guys who can't stand stats, but it's a tool. You can use it. But none of them do game film. And it's like I said before, it's like being a police officer and never going to the crime scene because you're just going to read the reports from the crime scene. They're like, why go to the crime scene? I've got the reports here. It's silly. It's silly. They're not media reporters. They're personality reporters. They're TMZ. That's what they are. Bathrooms. Give me a break. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay. I can tell you're worked up about it. Massey Wilkins was signed to the active roster from the practice squad, taking Auclair's roster spot.
What happened to Auclair again? Didn't you just tell me?
Calf injury.
Calf injury, that's right.
You were so upset you couldn't even process what I was saying.
Blood in my ears.
I know. And then we also moved Cyril Grayson and Tanner Hudson up. The rules are you can move 2 players per week from the practice squad. So those are our 2 guys. And Chris Godwin has been downgraded to out for Sunday's game. So we will absolutely not see him with his concussion. All right. So the Panthers. I'm excited about this one and I feel good about it. Did you know Darius Taylor is with the Panthers now?
Yeah,
so
I think we knew
Buccaneer,
that. But,
He went to the Browns last season. He actually started his career at Carolina, so we will see him tomorrow. He's, I think, number 2 linebacker. And so they have 10 new starters this year. Of course, they had their coaching change where everybody was ousted and replaced.
Now,
and
who did they play Sunday?
The Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah, okay. Raiders are a man team, so, and they struggled with them and got beat by them.
Yeah, the score was 34-30, so I'll kind of go over that in a little bit. So I'm going to go through the roster with all these new starting guys. Robby Anderson is wide receiver that they added and demoted Curtis Samuel. So last year, Curtis was a starter. Robby Anderson took his job. Robby was with the Jets for the last 4 years. He's a 4-5. This is his 5th year. So he actually had a really good performance against the Raiders last week. He had, he had 114 yards and a touchdown. He caught 6 of 8 targets from Teddy Bridgewater. So I don't know if he's not their number one. DJ Moore is their number one, but DJ Moore didn't do that great last week. He only had, let me see, I have so many notes, 54 yards, and he caught 4 of 9 receptions. So Robby Anderson can very easily turn out to be Teddy Bridgewater's favorite receiver and get that number 1 spot.
Fire up your fantasy football.
That's right. Their offensive line, they retooled, but they did get all veterans. So
really, how'd they do that?
I don't know. Okay, so at left tackle, they replaced Dennis Daly with Russell Okung, who is an 11-year vet from the Rams.
He's been in the league forever.
At left guard, they've got Michael Schofield, who is a 7-year vet from the Rams also, who replaced Darrell Williams. So Russell and Michael Schofield last year were with the Rams. I don't know if Michael Schofield played left guard there. I didn't look into that. But so these guys have a little bit of familiarity with each other. So that does kind of help them a little bit. Center Matt Paradis, he was there last year and they've kept him this year. And then John Miller, who is right guard.
That's an unusual name.
He is a 6-year vet. He came from Cincinnati and replaced Trey Turner. And then their right tackle, Taylor Moton, stayed the same. So they got 3 new guys on their offensive line. It's kind of a big no-no, as Lovie Smith learned, to blow up the offensive line. Although I think last year they were probably responsible for getting Cam Newton nearly killed. So that might have been a good idea. Of course, they replaced Cam Newton at quarterback with Teddy Bridgewater, who played pretty well last week. They have, of course, Christian McCaffrey at running back. And one of their depth guys, Mike Davis, stayed from last year. And then they added Trenton Cannon, who was with the Jets. And he's been in the league for 2 years. On defense, they changed. Remember last year they switched to a 3-4 from a 4-3. Well, now they're back to the 4-3.
Ah!
Yeah. So, but that's okay because they replaced most of their defense. Of course, on their defensive line, I'm including the outside linebackers here in the 3-4 system. So they lost Gerald McCoy, Kyle Love, Vernon Butler, Mario Addison, and Bruce Irvin.
Yeah. Complete overhaul that team.
Yeah. So, they did keep Kawan Short, who ended last season on IR. And of course, he is out this game with an injury, which I'll touch on in a minute. But their new defensive line consists of Brian Burns, who they drafted in the first round last year. So they've elevated him to starting defensive end. They have a rookie defensive tackle, Derek Brown, who they drafted. I think he was their first round pick. Kawan Short is their starter, and then defensive end Stephen Weatherly, who is a 5-year vet from Minnesota.
All right.
At linebacker, Luke Kuechly, of course, retired, thank God. Praise the football gods, Bucs fans. He's gone. Shaq Thomas is a holdover from last year, and he is, beside him is Tahir Whitehead, who is a 9-year vet from the Raiders. And then they also drafted rookie Jeremy Chin in the 2nd round. At cornerback, they kept Dante Jackson from last year, but they lost James Bradbury, who often covered Mike Evans, and he went to the Giants. They replaced him with a rookie, Trey Pride, who they drafted in the 4th round. So Scott Smith seemed to think that Trey Pride would be covering Mike tomorrow.
A rookie?
I know. That's what I said. But in his write-up, he said because Chris Godwin was on the other side, Dante Jackson, it didn't make sense. But now Chris Godwin is not on the other side.
Right.
So I don't know what they're going to do there, but we'll see. At At safety, they lost Eric Reed. They did not re-sign him. He was a free agent. They replaced him with Justin Burris, who played with Cleveland last year. And then they brought back Trey Boston. At punter on special teams, they replaced Michael Pilardi with a rookie, Joseph Charlton, who was also the holder for the kick return. So,
God, how many rookies they got on their team?
I know.
Starting? Did you say 10?
10 new starters, not all rookies. But I was surprised at how I thought that they would have more rookies than they did. They have a lot of vets that they brought in. At kicker, it's the same. They did replace DJ Moore at returner on both punts and kicks with Pharoh Cooper, who he did pretty well last week against the Raiders. Coming into this week, neither team has a takeaway.
That's going to end
I hope
this
so.
week.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, we watched the Raiders Carolina game. I didn't get a chance to analyze it like we normally do because of all this mess, but I was kind of impressed that Carolina didn't suck totally bad, but they weren't lighting things up, and that's against the Raiders. So this is one of those games where we kind of have to win. I mean, if we lose to the Panthers at home, the wheels will fall off this cart. But it's not going to happen. There's no way.
I don't think so.
There's no way we could lose. I think we could go out there and field 3 guys on each side against their 11, and we'd still win.
Well, let's talk about this. So they have, of course, their best weapon is Christian McCaffrey on offense. Yep. And
looking
last
just like
year,
same Christian McCaffrey from last year.
Yeah.
Although he didn't get the ball as much.
Well, last year Vita Vea destroyed him.
Yeah, remember that? He'd tackle him and then land on top of him.
I know. We last year in our 2 meetups, we held him to 68 rushing yards in 2 games.
68 combined?
Yes.
Nice.
And 110 yards from scrimmage. So, of course, he's a pass-catching back. Last week, we held Alvin Kamara to 2.4 yards a carry. So, we're kind of on the same track that we were last year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, we allowed 3.3 yards a carry. So, Devin White is going to be covering McCaffrey largely tomorrow. So that should be fun. I was impressed with his play.
Yeah, he did a good job
week.
on Kamara. Although they were switching it up, Devin White wasn't on Kamara totally all the time. Like I said, it was very strange. They would drop Barrett into coverage, and he would go over and bump Kamara off his route, and then he'd run back over to the quarterback sometimes. It was really strange. We did a lot of weird stuff, both defensively and offensively. More so defensively.
Carlton Davis held Michael Thomas to tie the fewest yards in a game.
Yeah, Carlton Davis played very well.
So Scott Smith is saying he may shadow DJ Moore, who was their top receiver last year. Although, again, DJ only had like 54 yards last week. And it was Robby Anderson who caught a lot of the passes. Mm-hmm. Had the bulk of the yardage. On Carolina's defense, of course, James Bradbury left for the Giants, so Trey Pride is going to cover Evans. They drafted him in the 4th round. He's from Notre Dame. They also signed Eli Apple in the offseason, but he's on injured reserve, so that sucks.
Wait, who signed Eli Apple?
Carolina did.
Wasn't he already with Carolina?
No. I don't think so.
Oh, he's with the Saints.
He's with the Saints,
That's right.
So that was a worthless signing. Way to go, GM. Okay. Just looking through my notes. Hold on.
Yeah.
They've moved Brian Burns up on the line, and so he'll match up against Donovan Smith. We'll see how that goes. Last year, His average time to cross the line of scrimmage after the snap was 0.75 seconds, and he was the quickest among all NFL edge rushers.
There go them stats.
Okay, so their game against Oakland, Teddy Bridgewater went 22 of 34 attempts. He got 269 yards total, a touchdown. He was sacked once for 10 yards and had a 72.6 quarterback rating, a 98.8 passer rating.
Wait, what? I did not know there was two separate categories: quarterback rating and passer rating. Oh my gosh!
One of them accounts for like quality over quantity.
I don't care.
So I know. Well, that's why I did both.
I don't want to know.
Christian McCaffrey had 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 38 receiving yards. So he had
he was on my fantasy football. He was my best player.
You gonna bench him tomorrow?
No. Never
sit your studs.
I never sit your studs, but I've also got Tampa Bay's defense.
I know.
And he's playing Tampa Bay, and I ain't going to root for him.
I know.
I don't care. This is just a fun season. I ain't trying to win nothing.
Okay. Their defense had no sacks, no quarterback hits. They had 4 passes defended, 4 TFLs, and 65 total tackles. They allowed Derek Carr to go 22 for 30 for 239 yards, a touchdown. He had a quarterback rating of 69 and a 107.8 passer rating.
Carolina Panthers are going to be the NFC South's Miami Dolphins for the Tom Brady's.
On kick return, so this Pharoh Cooper did pretty good returning. He had 2 returns for 29 total yards. He had a 19-yard long. And for comparison, Deontay Harris last week had 4 punt returns for 59 yards and an 18-yard long. So there were no kick returns, and we had no returns last week. So he just had those punt returns. But they had good field position last week. So I am a little concerned with our special teams that that's going to be an issue. I hope that they can get it corrected.
Yeah.
On kick returns last week, Pharoh had 4 returns for 109 yards and a 38-yard long. So that's of particular concern to me.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's run through the injury report, and then you can talk about if you want to
grouse some more,
or if you have any thoughts on the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, we'll do our predictions for the Panthers game, and then that'll be the end of the podcast.
As we touched on earlier with the injury report, Anthony Auclair is out. That calf injury.
Okay. I was going to ask how long he was going to be out, but
3 weeks minimum.
Yep.
Chris Godwin is out with the concussion. And Mike Evans, he's on there with the hamstring. He's fine. JPP didn't practice on Thursday, came back Friday full practice, but it wasn't injury related. Sue had the day off on Friday, not injury related. They're playing. Donovan Smith was on the injury report. He was limited Thursday and returned to practice Friday. So he's fine. And then Jordan Whitehead had an elbow injury. He was a full participant Friday, and he's fine. He's good to go.
So Auclair and Godwin are the only.
That's it.
Okay.
On Carolina's side, their guard, Dennis Daly, he's a backup. He's out with an ankle injury. Defensive end, I hate this name. I can't say it. Yetur Gross-Matos. He has a eye.
Gross-Matos?
Yeah, Gross-Matos. It's like hyphenated. He's got an eye injury / concussion, so he's out. And then defensive tackle Kawan Short has a foot injury. He's out. Pharoh Cooper has a rib injury. He was full participant on Friday. Cornerback Dante Jackson had an ankle injury. He is a full participant. Linebacker Shaq Thompson has a groin injury. He participated fully on Friday. And then defensive end Stephen Weatherly had a hamstring, and he was good to go on Friday. So the only 3 guys out are Dennis Daly, the guard, defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos, and then Kawan Short.
Wait, Kawan Short's not playing. That's right. Okay.
Correct.
So there we go. We've got our lineup for tomorrow. 1 o'clock. Who do you think is going to win?
The Bucs.
Yeah. All right. We both
Like,
agree with
no
that. Give us a
question.
score. What do you got, Molly?
Okay.
Oh, how did we do last week? We never did cover.
Not great.
Yeah, I don't think we did that bad. We just it was flipped around. We both picked the Bucs to win. Do you remember?
No,
I thought you wrote it
I don't
down.
know. I did write it down, but I can't pull up my notes right now.
Okay.
It freezes my computer, and then it's a very slow computer.
Okay. So
Okay.
what are you predicting for tomorrow?
I am going to say Bucs 31, Carolina 20.
You think they're going to get 20 points? All right. You know what? Since I'm angry and I don't like the Panthers anyhow, I'm going to say Bucs 42. No, screw that. 45.
Okay.
And we'll do that in honor of Devin White. And Carolina 10.
Wow.
That's if they don't hire the referees to throw the game for them, too. All right. Guys, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Let's watch a whooping up on the Panthers, the Kittens. And, I'm actually thinking about doing a write-in campaign to Roger Goodell about the referees. I'll let you know. I'm a letter writer guy. I love to write letters to people and grouse at them. That's my new word of the day, grouse. So I'll let you know about that if we can get a bunch of people to send Roger Goodell some bad vibes. Let him know that,
Strongly worded emails.
Yeah, strongly worded emails. Let him know that, hey, get your refs under control there, buddy. Anything else?
That'll do it.
All righty. Tomorrow, Bucs. Let's do this. Buck Nation, think positive. Till next time.
Go Bucs.